you know, go out and rape me for my ideas, go out and try to talk like they were his. I thought the guy would have an interest in what I was sharing with him, and that maybe we could work together. Um, this whole um, this whole destroying or kill postmodernism and relativism, that all came about from stuff I was sharing with him. And you don't just kill postmodernism. It's not how it works. It's silly. What happens is postmodernism dies uh, from doing as a result of a prerequisite, which is the logos, the actual real logos, not this Dr. Peterson junk. He calls the logos. Um, and the reason the guy is contradictory is because he's never experienced what he's talking about. He's never experienced it. He basically just steals from people, whether they're living or whether they're dead. And I actually heard him later on say some pretty like grimy stuff, like be careful who you share your good news with. There's no reason society should live in fear like that. We should be able to share ourselves with each other, express ourselves freely and openly. We shouldn't have to worry about, getting jumped for our contributions or what we share. We shouldn't have to worry about somebody just, being like, oh, that's a good idea, but he doesn't have the resources and he can't get out there and talk about it. So let me go do it instead. We shouldn't live like that. That's pretty. That's rape culture, in my opinion. I constitute all that as rape. You're just taking what doesn't belong to you and making advances on stuff that isn't yours. Um, that's pretty grimy stuff. But it doesn't seem to bother him or his followers. That's fine. That's whatever. As a result, the fruits of the labor would be an indication and a result. I'll debate any one of his followers or whatever. I'll debate Dr. Peterson. That's really who I'd rather debate. Just to let him know that what he's talking about is not actually what those things are. He's more interested in pronouncing Carl Jung's last name than he actually is in applying Carl Jung's knowledge, especially about the shadow stuff. He doesn't understand the shadow at all. I sit there and play devil's advocate with the guy. He probably believes everything I tell him. Everything he sees there. If I call him an asshole or a jerk off, I'm really just lying to him. I don't mean any of that, but it's so easy for people nowadays to believe the worst in each other, that they soak that stuff right up. People are more apt to believe the bad things about people in the world than they are to believe the good things. So that's kind of where I take advantage of things sometimes, just to prove that type of sick thinking in the world isn't going to get us anywhere. It's just going to get us more negativity and more drama and more nonsense, really. Um, so it's like if I told the world I was Satan, or told this video that I was Satan, you'd be more apt to believe that than if I said I'm Jesus Christ. Or if I said, I'm a bad, terrible person, I'm here to fuck shit up and light Dr. Peterson's ass the fuck up, dog. You would believe all that more than you would believe that, what I'm actually telling you is the truth. Which is, the guy has a bunch of rhetoric. He got it from somewhere that wasn't his own experience, from the root. He likes to talk about the roots and the logos. He doesn't have the root to bear the fruit, which is the experiences that he's talking about. And we can read all day we want, but reading is really different than understanding. And then once you have an understanding, you can apply the stuff. But when you're reading it, you really can't read and recite and act and rehearse, because life's not really an act and rehearse. And a lot of things like enlightenment, or as Jesus would say, bear your cross. Every day you should bear your cross. You lose your life to save your life. Things like that. Enlightenment's a very destructive process. You can't really read yourself into enlightenment. That's a total bunch of foolish nonsense. And enlightenment seems to be a big popular buzzword today. So all these science doctors and these scholars are writing endless books on enlightenment. None of them have ever experienced enlightenment. You can tell. Especially if they're running to the Buddhists and asking the Buddhists all about the mind and all this stuff that they can come back and put in their books. They've never experienced enlightenment. They shouldn't even really be writing about this stuff, because then they just write a bunch of rhetoric and you get another one of them identity politics where everyone's trying to act. They're trying to act out and they're trying to fit this image. And they want to fit this image so they can belong, so they can fit the words, so then they can feel a part of something. But enlightenment is the total destruction of all that needing to feel a part, needing to identify. Once you hit enlightenment, you lose all that stuff. You lose your need to identify. You're not really sucked into these ideologies and these political games. You could just get up and go make a sandwich. Rather than sit and bicker and argue with people, or, fear politics, or be mad that Donald Trump won a year ago, you're still mad about it. When you've been through enlightenment, you really don't care about that stuff. It just is. And, that's what happens in life. And then it's on to how to make the best of this. How do we learn from our mistakes and make the best of what we don't like? Which is called transmutation. How do we make goods from the bads? If you want to get into labeling and explaining, you have to label to differentiate it in language, but one does not truly soak in, I am good, and start feeling good, proud, and all that other stuff, because then you end up going into corruption. So you always got to watch what kind of energy you're feeding into yourself. Whether you shed the energy in humility, if you get a compliment or something, or whether you absorb the energy in I am good, and you really suck that up about yourself. That's the difference there. And then there's another difference. You can either do pride or be grateful. You get one moment and one spark of energy. You can either be proud in that moment, or you can be grateful, but you can't do the two at once. It's almost like you can't serve two masters. You can't serve the energy of pride, and you can't do gratitude. You just can't do the two at the same time, so you have to jockey back and forth. You get one moment and one spark of energy. And that's kind of how that goes. I just wanted to express a little bit about, what I see going on. Not that it really matters what I'm saying, but it is helpful. I think it would benefit people from sort of getting led down another dead-end road of identity politics and dragon slaying, hero, cultist, hoopla, and woo-woo, which is like more like sci-fi junk type stuff. It's more like movie stuff, Hollywood crap. If there was a cultural hero or a trickster, he wouldn't sit there and let you plaster him. Sorry, not trickster. If there really was a cultural hero like that, he wouldn't want you to plaster his face all over T-shirts, and he wouldn't be putting slogans and all that stuff. He's not Anheuser-Busch or the Budweiser frogs. He's not Budweiser. He's not a new brand name. That's just not how that works in a morality sense, in an equality sense. You can't sit out there and be like the hero, the one, and stand above everybody and then want to do unity and equality. You can't be, you can't be the highest of the high, because that all has to go, else we're stuck in postmodernism. And we just sit there doing postmodernism, competing and comparing and all that stuff, to where it really matters in the end. But, sometimes nothing matters, and we have to be able to face that in life, where nothing matters, where we get nothing and we like it anyway. And, that might happen with me, and it might not. I really don't know. I don't choose either side. If you look at the Bruce Lee quote, voidness is stands right in the middle. It doesn't choose a this or a that. I'll post a quote below in the comments. It's really good. It's Bruce Lee really had his shit together. He was on point. And that whole be like water thing, that's a lot of what a thing is about today. Just going with the flow and being like water, not trying to cling or hold on or anything like that. You're not grappling up to anywhere. You're not like uh, you're not reaching any point. It's a state of isness. There's no race or competition, and things can just be, as they are. Um, Once we enter all that analyzation, which is outside observation, then we get all that duality and relativism and that all that nonsense and conflict. So observation is to just observe. When I'm watching a bug walk across the ground, maybe it's carrying a stick. I'm not in analyzation of the bug. I'm not like, where the fuck's he going? What's he doing? Oh, that bug thinks he thinks he's slick, huh? That bug thinks he could just carry that stick there. I wonder where he's going. You know what? Is he Jewish? Is he Republican? Is he Democrat? He's not just going to go over there and do that. There's none of that. And that is all what comes about in analyzation. In observation, things just are. It's just like you're looking at the nature. You're sitting enjoying a view over a cliff or a mountainside. You're not in like analyzation and all this chaos. That's all I have to say for this one. Thanks for watching.